Okay, so this is a video game review for Warcraft 3 Reign of Chaos for the PC, officially my second favourite strategy game ever. This 2002 title is a prime example of how stellar storytelling can add so much to a decent game. Simply put, for me, this is the greatest story ever told in the medium of computer games and film combined. The graphics may not have the greatest amount of detail to them, but they're colourful, something that I really love in games. All the locations you visit in the game appear different and varied. Yes, perhaps it's a bit cliched to have a lush green land, a few snow levels and some barren wilderness environments, but in Warcraft 3, because of the story and because all the characters and races feel like they've lived there for millennia, you believe it and you become more involved as a result. Whenever I think of Warcraft 3, I think of the Lord of the Rings films, due to the depth and epic scale and nature of the storyline. I really enjoyed and respect the Lord of the Rings films for their dedication to serious filmmaking, but just so good is Warcraft 3 in the area of story. The Lord of the Rings, I should say, in my eyes, it just pales in comparison. That's no slight against the Lord of the Rings films. It just kind of signifies to me how good the story is in Warcraft 3. Now, before I nitpick each major area of this game, I'll try not to reveal too much of the story, but I may kind of touch on some aspects. What I will say is that it encompasses all the major races on the Earth, as well as having the orcs and the humans, as you had in previous games. You also have the undead and night elves as well, and they add quite a bit to the mix. They definitely have different types of units, and they balance out quite nicely. And it's really a game that feels like it's at the end of its series, which makes the additional expansion pack that came after it really puzzling. I didn't really feel like it was a game that really needed to have any more games after it. I would be happy if they never released another Warcraft 3 game, and I really like them, but I'm just saying that so final was the story that I just don't feel like it needs any more sequels. And that may sound strange coming from someone who really enjoys it, but that's how I feel about stories. I hate it when you have a really good story and then they just keep on churning out any old rubbish. Warcraft 3 is definitely one to kind of keep up on the pedestal a little bit, at least for gamers like me anyway. The subplot of Arthas, the human prince, good guy turned bad, is worth the price of this game alone, but that's only one small story segment. As I was going on to say, the level of characterization in this game is really well done. If you don't have good characters, then it doesn't matter how good the story is, it'll falter. The cutscenes may not be much to look at, but they're well voice acted, and importantly, something that I'm always banging on about, they're really regular. Every single mission, at the beginning of the mission, you get a cutscene. During the mission, sometimes you get like a cutscene or two. Then at the end of the mission, you usually get another cutscene. I mean, there's cutscenes galore, and I love that. It really keeps the player involved in the game, in the story. It's not like you have 4 missions in a row, then you might get like a 2-second cutscene. And you know, if you're playing this over a few hours, over a few days, you don't get to play many games very much, then at least you're always attached to the story then and there. And I think cutscenes are really important to telling a good story, and in Warcraft 3 it definitely tells a good story. A further mention should be given to the just incredible cinematics that Blizzard have put into this game. 7 years after this game was first released, doing this review in 2009, they still amaze me, and they're still the finest I've ever seen in a computer game. As for the actual game itself, control-wise, the game is your bog-standard strategy game. You construct buildings, you mine for gold, you chop down trees for lumber, resources, and train units, melee, ranged, siege, or aerial, and you throw them at your enemy. New to the Warcraft series are hero units, and they really add some RPG elements and strategy to the mix, which otherwise, if they hadn't been there, it would have just felt like same old, same old. Now, I won't go into detail about them, but their spells are really simple to cast, even in manic brawls. You can equip them with items such as health potions, which again you can use in battle very easily to stop them from dying, basically. And even then, if they do die, you can resurrect them at a cost, so when they're gone, they're not usually gone for good. The controls and layout regarding map, resources, all that sort of stuff works fine. It's a functional game. In the course of missions, you'll get hints to show you and help ease the player in and help you solve any puzzles there are. And as a player who doesn't like playing and being left for hours to figure things out, this is all very welcome. There are so many things to boost your hero's strength, agility and intelligence that you may never see the same item again. or twice I should say. Again, this really creates a sense of depth within the game. Each mission is designed to really take advantage of each unit's special abilities, and there are optional side quests in each mission which will extend the game's duration. And it's a fairly beefy game already with all the missions involved, and when you consider that there's a skirmish mode and a map editor thrown in, it really is a full gaming experience, and you've got to give credit to Blizzard for creating such a massive game here. Day-night cycles are strategic as well, a new innovation to the game, as well as being pleasing on the eye. So night elf units can become invisible and are able to ambush enemy factions if used properly. Marauding creatures are everywhere, and their diversity in level again provides challenges, but makes the lands that Blizzard have created in their levels just seem more alive and varied. Dotted around the map are fountains of mana, health, as well as mercenaries for hire, goblin labs and merchants that sell useful items and aid your quest. The missions are sufficiently varied, with time attack and defense missions, resource gathering missions, and RPG style dungeon missions where you have a small squad of units and have to traverse a dungeon or cavern. The game is not too difficult on medium difficulty, with a few welcome exceptions, which are missions and quests that are a bit tougher and even adrenaline pumping, something that you don't really tend to associate with strategy games. The last mission in particular is notably tougher and just really epic, if that's kind of the only word I can really use to describe it. The music isn't too pronounced in Warcraft 3, but for the most part it suits the gameplay, and most importantly it doesn't detract or distract from the game. There are some nice subtle tunes, especially the Orc theme played on a rather haunting French horn, and importantly each of the four factions have their own distinct musical themes, and they each play quite differently. Little things like double-clicking units and buildings, selecting all of that type, you've seen it in other games, but really, even on a less superficial level, this game really doesn't fail on those key fundamentals, i.e. controls. The sound effects, such as lumbering, rooting ancients and releasing catapults, all sound authentic and realistic also. Now, I've spoken about a disparate number of issues during this review, perhaps even rather unemotionally, but just in order to get the major points across. But all I really need to tell you is this: I wouldn't give a game a 9 out of 10 if it was just another derivative RTS. I have no qualms with giving low scores to fan favourites or big title games, but that just isn't necessary here. Warcraft 3 is genuinely a near perfect strategy game in my estimation. This may sound like a fan video, but I don't consider myself a fan of just anything in this world. I just appreciate games that clearly show how much effort has been put into them. This is a game that I really can't find too many flaws with, even though I'm looking. Yes, the graphics are a bit boxy and the skirmish mode doesn't have a difficulty option without a patch, but overall this is a thoroughly decent game. It's not only the game with the greatest story for me, but has the best cutscenes I've ever seen in a game. It has enjoyable gameplay, it is great value for money, it's a game that will keep you hooked for weeks and months, not just the afternoon of first purchase. Blizzard have not only maintained all the enjoyability from previous games, but added so much more and fully realised a truly incredible world, which I for one would not like them to spoil with a potentially rushed out kind of sequel. This game is just a modern classic, and it's not every day that I get to say that about a game. I give Warcraft 3 a truly well-deserved 9 out of 10. And that's me.